Tank, cool name, and you can tell your mates and anyone else who wants to listen that you drive a tank if you stump up for one of these, the GWM Tank 300 that's just launched in Australia. Chasing cars, honest reviews of your next car.
Brought to you by
The Tank 300 is a 4x4 wagon that competes with the likes of Toyota Fortuner and Isuzu MU-X. And like its rivals, it offers body-on-frame architecture as well as hardcore dedicated 4x4. But unlike its key rivals, the Tank is petrol hybrid. So let's check it out, including a hardcore off-road course. Rather than opt for diesel power as usually favoured by the 4x4 wagon competition, the GWM Tank 300 offers a choice of petrol or petrol-electric hybrid powertrains. It's the latter that really brings an interesting twist to the dedicated all-terrain format. And it's the hybrid version that sits as the harder core Tank 300 offering that we drove at the recent Australian launch. Internal combustion is a 2-litre turbocharged petrol 4. And at 180 kilowatts and 380 newton meters, it's quite a potent one at that. It's paired with an electric motor that outputs 78 kilowatts and 268 newton meters. Total system figures are 258 kilowatts and 615 newton meters. In comparison, that's well up on Fortuner Diesel's 150 kilowatts and 500 newton meters. Other crucial stats? Well, it's thirsty. GWM says the Tank 300 is certified for 10.3 litres per 100, which is pretty poor for a petrol-electric hybrid. But the company is working towards reclassification that's closer to 8 litres. It'll also tow 2.5 tonnes brake, which is a little down on the Fortuner's 3,200 kilogram figure. But the elephant in the room is how petrol-electric motivation goes in a challenging off-road environment. So it's perhaps not surprising that the Tank 300's local launch program was conducted entirely across tough and challenging 4x4 courses, held at the famed Australian Automotive Research Centre in Victoria. The Tank 300 sits on GWM's all-terrain dedicated P71 chassis that is also shared with the larger Tank 500. Drive is sent through a 9-speed automatic transmission exclusively for the hybrid or an 8-speed auto for the petrol. Its 4x4 system is what GWM calls torque on demand, and it offers proper high and low dual range that's selectable once the vehicle is stationary. The Tank 300 also offers a variety of drive modes, including Sport and a mud mode that holds the engine RPM higher. And the drive modes can be switched on the fly when you're on the move. Right, let's see how the Tank goes off-road. So the first thing that you notice with the Tank and its petrol-electric hybrid system is how quiet it is, so you just don't get that diesel rattle. And when you do change drive modes, it makes some strange sounds. Right, let's put it into 4 low. That's weird. The Tank's damping is actually quite softly set. More so than you might find in, say, a Fortuner or a Isuzu MU-X. So going through here, although it's extremely rough, the ride is actually quite cushiony. Not the sense you just touch the throttle and you can really feel that electric torque. There really is a surprising amount of grip from what's essentially road-going rubber. The Tank 300 has a fantastic 300-degree camera system, and it provides a forward view of hard-to-see terrain, such as drop-offs, and even an undercarriage view. So next up, the offset whoops, which really tests your articulation, and I'm not going to put the rear diff lock on, but just leave it in 4 low and going to see how we go. Right, we're lifting the right rear wheel, and does that easy. So next up, I'm a little nervous because we're not in a diesel, we're in a petrol with high voltage electric power, and we're about to go through 600 mil of wading through water. So fingers crossed, huh? We don't have to go for a swim. Our sensors are up, but the water's halfway up the doors. Well, that was relatively easy. All right, back to 4 high, and we'll see what crazy sounds it does this time. Strange. All right, so we've got some fairly aggressive humps right now, and 4 high, let's see if it bottoms out against the underbody protection. Well, it's pretty good. One more. Again, it's surprising how quiet this Tank is with its petrol-electric motivation. No hills descent control, just ride it a little bit on the brakes. Easy. Another mildly challenging ascent, and we're going to try it this time again in 4 high. Pretty good traction from these road-going handhooks. So the approach and departure angles for the tank are around 32-33 degrees, which is actually pretty good. And ground clearance, although we've just scraped there, is 226 millimeters. Right, we've got a steep ascent now, but I'm going to keep it in 4 high, which I'm a little bit nervous about. What I'm hoping is that the electric torque will actually just drag the tank up the hill. Let's check it out. I'm actually only using a really light throttle here, but it's actually getting quite steep. Just wisely bridge the ruts. And it does it easily. It's pretty impressive. One plus with the electric motor is that it brings a lot of effortless torque at low speed, which is very handy for negotiating off-road challenges. Uphill, the electric torque really does make for effortless progress up steep inclines. And it's here that the petrol engine certainly doesn't seem to be doing much of the heavy lifting. I am pretty skeptical about anything that's petrol electric off-road, particularly that water weighting, but I must say the tank has demonstrated some pretty good 4x4 chops, and I'm pretty impressed. The Tank 300 Hybrid comes with a locking rear differential on all grades, but it also adds a front locking diff on high-spec versions. So swapping between 4 high and 4 low, you do have to stop and knock it into neutral, but you can change between the different drive modes such as mud and sand and sport on the fly. Looks-wise, it's perhaps more Tonka Truck cute than it is Tonka Truck tough, and it owes more of its styling to Jeep Wrangler than it does, say, Fortuner or MU-X. The Tank 300 is offered in 2 trim levels, and it kicks off with the Luxe at around 56,000 drive away. And that sits below the high-spec Ultra that kicks off at around 61,000 drive away on-road or on the trail. Whichever way you go, you get dual 12.3-inch digital screens, a sunroof, and a very cool 360-degree camera system. While the Luxe gets vinyl trim, the $5,000 pricier Ultra fits Napa leather seats with seat heating and cooling, as well as massage functionality on the driver's seat. There are cabin elements that are quite well inspired by Mercedes-Benz, especially the dash design and the circular turbine air vents. The Luxe fits 17-inch wheels with a locking rear differential, as well as underbody protection. Meanwhile, stepping up to the Ultra adds larger 18-inch wheels, a front-locking differential, and features tougher 3-piece underbody shielding. Overall, in cabin, the quality feels quite good, and this Ultra version does bring plenty of upmarket flash. What's really surprising is just how much room they've managed to milk in the back of the Tank 300. So it's fully featured, so you get rear air vents, dual USB ports, and a couple of cup holders in the fold-down armrest. Obviously, we've had a dusty time here, but open the rear door, and you can see that it seals the dust out really well from the luggage space, which is actually really quite generous. GWM has certainly lobbed a 4x4 wagon with a cool name and a cool new hybrid spin as its key point of difference. It's also loaded with tons of standard features and comes at a couple of really enticing price points. It certainly makes some good impressions, particularly off-road, but we really want to get it into the Chasing Cars garage to find out what it's like as an all-rounder in the real world. That's what I think, but how about you? Put your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe while you're at it. And as always, thanks for watching Chasing Cars.